The rain poured relentlessly, hammering against the towering glass windows of a skyscraper in the heart of New York City. The city below, usually a mosaic of light and movement, was now shrouded in an eerie gloom. Clouds hung low and dark, wrapping the bustling streets in a veil of foreboding. Traffic groaned to a halt, headlights flickering like trapped fireflies in the down. Pedestrians, clutching umbrellas that flipped inside out with each gust of wind, hurried along the drenched sidewalk. The storm's chaos seemed to echo the city's unrelenting pace, now drowned under a torrent of water and sound. High above this turmoil, on the top floor of the skyscraper, Barron Trump stood silently by a massive glass window. His tall frame cast a shadow against the rain-streaked pane, a stark contrast to the swirling chaos outside. For Barron, these moments of stillness, gazing at the city below, often brought comfort. The endless rush of life below him felt detached, almost abstract. But tonight was different. The rain blurred the skyline, and the storm seemed to deepen the divide between him and the world beyond. As his eyes traced the faint outlines of the buildings through the storm, something caught his attention. There, clinging precariously to a safety harness just outside his window, was a frail elderly. She was a window washer, her trembling hands gripping the soaked equipment as she struggled against the brutal wind. Each swipe of her cloth against the glass seemed a battle lost, as raindrops immediately reclaimed their place. Her exhaustion was evident, her face pale and lined with strain, her movements slow and laborious. Barron's heart tightened. He pressed his hand against the cold glass, the sensation grounding him in a moment that felt unreal. His mind raced with questions. Why is she out here in this storm? Doesn't anyone see this isn't right? The guards stationed nearby glanced at him but remained silent, their impassive faces betraying no reaction. He couldn't look away. The image of her fragile figure swaying dangerously in the storm was unbearable. It wasn't just wrong, it felt profoundly unjust. He turned sharply, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "Get her inside," he commanded, the words carrying the weight of a decision that would ripple far beyond this stormy night. Barron Trump turned from the rain-streaked window, his expression hardening with purpose. The elderly woman clinging to the window-washing harness outside was struggling against the storm, her frail body swaying dangerously in the wind. The sight of her trembling hands, clutching the soaked equipment, was unbearable. He looked at the guards stationed nearby, their stoic faces reflecting neither concern nor initiative. Barron's voice was steady but sharp as he issued his command. "Get her inside," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. One of them finally stepped forward, his voice hesitant. "Sir, the building doesn't handle these matters directly. We would need to contact her employer for a..." Barron's jaw tightened, the bureaucratic response fueling his frustration. He stepped closer, his gaze piercing. "I don't care," he snapped, his voice firm and unyielding. "Do something." The guards, visibly unsettled, moved quickly to make a call to the building manager, relaying the situation. Minutes stretched into an eternity as Barron stood by the window, his palms pressed against the cold glass. Outside, the woman's movements grew more labored, her frail figure bending under the force of the storm. Every sway of her harness seemed like it could be her last, and Barron's heart pounded with urgency. When the manager arrived, his flustered demeanor was matched by his reluctance. "Mr. Trump, we can't just pull her off duty without her employer's authorization," he explained, his tone apologetic but firm. "It's out of our hands." Barron cut him off sharply. "I'll take responsibility," he said, his voice unwavering. "If she falls, it's on all of..." The manager hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. A rescue team was dispatched to the rooftop, and Barron watched anxiously as they maneuvered through the storm to reach the woman. The moment she was safely pulled inside, relief washed over him like a wave. But as he turned to meet her in the lobby, her soaked and shivering figure struck him and, "Why did you stop me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Barron's concern deepened as she explained her predicament. Without completing her shifts, she wouldn't be paid, and she desperately needed the money for her grandson Timmy, who was battling leukemia. Her words hit Barron like a blow, igniting a determination to help a spark that would grow into something far greater. The image of Mrs. Eleanor Reed, soaked and trembling, lingered in Barron Trump's mind long after she was pulled to safety. Her words echoed in his thoughts. Her grandson Timmy was her world, and his medical bills were insurmountable. Determined to help beyond a fleeting act of rescue, Barron instructed his team to gather every detail about her situation. Within hours, his staff presented the harrowing truth. Mrs. Reed, a 63-year-old widow, worked 3 jobs to cover Timmy's leukemia treatment. The staggering costs left her in perpetual struggle, with no room for rest. As Barron read her story, an ache settled in his chest. He couldn't ignore the stark contrast between his life of comfort and her relentless sacrifices. While he lived surrounded by luxury, she risked her life daily to provide for her grandson. The realization was profound. He had the power to do more, and he would. But before Barron could act, the story of his intervention leaked to the media. Headlines lauded him as a hero, while skeptics accused him of staging the event for public. The glare of public attention was unwelcome, but Barron dismissed the noise. This wasn't about fame. It was about ensuring Elena and Timmy would never have to suffer alone. By the next morning, Barron Trump's act of kindness was splashed across every major news outlet. Headlines proclaimed him a hero. Barron Trump braved storm to save widow's life, while social media buzzed with debate. Many praised his compassion, but others questioned his motives, accusing him of exploiting the event for publicity. The spotlight, however, was most harshly turned on Elena Reed. Her modest apartment became a media circus. Reporters camped outside her door, cameras flashing at every glimpse of her or her grandson, Tim. Overwhelmed by the unrelenting attention, Elena called Barron's team in tears. "I didn't ask for this," she said, her voice breaking. "I just want Timmy to be safe." Barron felt a pang of guilt. What began as an act of kindness had spiraled into chaos for a woman who simply wanted to stay unseen. "I'll fix this," he promised. But behind closed doors, his advisors urged caution. "The media attention could damage your image," one warned. "It's time to step back," Barron refused. "This isn't about me. It's about..." Shortly after, Elena herself arrived at Barron's office, clutching a small plastic bag. "You've already done so much," she said, her voice From the bag, she pulled out a handmade scarf, its stitches uneven but lovingly crafted. "It's not much, but I wanted to thank..." Barron's chest tightened as he accepted the gift. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. In that moment, their bond solidified, transcending social barrier. Elena's gratitude and humility moved him deeply, and the scarf became a symbol of her strength and love. For Barron, this wasn't just about charity anymore. It was about connection, a shared humanity, and a determination to make a lasting difference. Barron Trump stood outside a small apartment building, its faded bricks and cracked steps a stark contrast to the grandeur he was used to. The rain had finally eased, leaving behind a cold gray sky. As he entered, the smell of home-cooked meals and old books greeted him, a warmth at odds with the modest surrounding. His guards had advised against this visit, citing concerns about media attention, but Barron had insisted. This wasn't a spectacle, it was personal. Inside, Elena Reed greeted him with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. Her eyes red from exhaustion. She led him to the small living room, where Timmy, pale and frail, lay nestled on a worn-out couch beneath a pile of blankets. His eyes widened as Barron approached. "Are you really him?" Timmy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Barron knelt beside him, smiling softly. "Yeah, it's me. How are you feeling?" Timmy's smile was faint but genuine. "Grandma says you saved her," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you." Barron felt a lump rise in his throat. "Your grandma is amazing," he replied, glancing at Elena, who stood quietly in the corner, wiping her eyes. "She loves you so much." Timmy's expression turned serious, his small hand reaching out to clutch Barron's. "I don't want her to work so hard," he said, his voice cracking. "She's always so tired." Barron looked at Elena again. Her face was etched with lines of worry and sacrifice, her frailty masked by a quiet strength. She had carried the weight of the world on her shoulders for far too long. "You don't have to worry about her anymore," Barron said, turning back to Timmy, his voice filled with determination. "I promise we'll take care of everything." Timmy's eyes widened with hope. "Really?" Barron nodded, his resolve unwavering. That evening, he called his father, outlining Elena and Timmy's plight. To his relief, His father agreed to fund Timmy's treatment and cover Elena's expenses. Barron also reached out to a trusted charity to provide additional support discreetly. As he left the apartment, Barron couldn't shake the image of Timmy's frail smile or Elena's weary gratitude. His commitment wasn't just to provide money, it was to ensure their lives were no longer defined by struggle, no matter what it took. Barron Trump sat in his room, the soft, uneven stitches of Elena's handmade scarf draped across his lap. The simple gift carried a weight that words couldn't capture, embodying her gratitude and resilience. It wasn't just a scarf, it was a testament to her strength and love for her grandson, Timmy. Barron stared at it for a long time before making a decision. Picking up his phone, he took a photo of the scarf and posted it to his social media account with a heartfelt caption. Sometimes, a simple gift carries the weight of 1,000 words. Let's not forget those who give everything, even when they have nothing. The post included a brief mention of Elena and Timmy's story. Barron didn't expect what followed. Within hours, the post went viral. People from all corners of the world shared the story. Inspired by Elena's sacrifices and Barron's compassion, donations poured in, not just for Elena and Timmy, but for families everywhere, struggling under the weight of medical bills, poverty, and unseen battles. Celebrities, influencers, and ordinary people joined the movement, amplifying the message of kindness. The sudden attention transformed Elena and Timmy's lives. Their small apartment overflowed with letters of support, toys, and gifts. A local hospital offered to provide specialized care for Timmy at no cost. The once isolated widow and her grandson became symbols of hope, their story a rallying cry for compassion and generosity. But even as the world rallied around them, tragedy loomed. Despite the medical treatments funded by donations and Barron's personal efforts, Timmy's condition worsened. One quiet evening, with his small hand trembling, Timmy asked Elena for a pen and paper. Barron sat silently nearby, watching as the boy painstakingly wrote a letter. When he finished, Timmy folded it and handed it to Barron. "This is for you," Timmy whispered, his voice weak but resolute. "You'll know when the time is right." Barron's hands shook as he accepted the letter, his heart heavy with unspoken grief. Timmy's condition deteriorated rapidly. In his final moments, he opened his eyes, met Elena's gaze, and whispered, "I love you, Grandma. Thank you for everything." The room fell silent as Timmy slipped into a peaceful sleep, his small body finally free from pain. Elena sobbed quietly. Clutching his hand, yet, even in their grief, they found solace in the outpouring of love from around the world. Determined to honor Timmy's memory, Barron established a foundation in his name, dedicated to helping children with rare illnesses and their families. The movement grew, fueled by Timmy's story and the simple message that kindness changes everything. Months later, a mural of Timmy was unveiled on the skyscraper where Elena's journey began. His radiant smile and the words, "Kindness changes everything," served as a reminder of the power of compassion. At a memorial event under a star-filled sky, Barron released lanterns into the night, each one carrying a message of love and hope. "Let's keep the ripple going," Barron said in a final video message. Timmy's story isn't just about him, it's about us. Together, we can make the world a kinder place. The world listened, and Timmy's legacy lived on, a beacon of hope that continued to inspire millions.